Let's talk about PDA. No, this isn't about holding hands in public. You may have heard the term PDA in SEND or ALN training within your school or setting, but what does it actually mean? Well, PDA stands for Pathological Demand Avoidance, and it's a term that's coming up more and more in schools. Hi everyone, I'm Zoe from My Progression, and in today's video, we're talking about pathological demand avoidance. I'll be breaking down what PDA is, how it presents in the classroom, and sharing some strategies that you can use to support any pupils with PDA. Whether you're a new teacher, an experienced teacher, or a support member of staff, understanding PDA can make a big difference to how you can support these pupils that experience high levels of anxiety. This video is focused on supporting pupils with PDA. However, you may see some crossovers with supporting all pupils who are feeling anxious, especially those with additional needs. Now, PDA isn't about misbehaving and purposely not following instructions. It's anxiety-driven avoidance of everyday demands. What may be seen as defiant behaviour or refusal is actually a deep-rooted survival response where the person with PDA is protecting themselves from feeling safe or overwhelmed. So, what is PDA? PDA, or Pathological Demand Avoidance, is a profile on the autism spectrum. It differs from other profiles of autism because pupils with PDA experience extreme anxiety around everyday demands. For example, demands such as hang up your coat or get your book out. Someone with PDA often feels a loss of control, and when faced with demands, they may respond by avoiding, distracting, withdrawing, or even entering crisis. Regardless of your role within a school, one of your responsibilities is to manage behaviour and ensure the rules are being followed. Classrooms are places where demands are extremely common, so for a child with PDA, this could be a very difficult place for them to feel comfortable in. Additional support in schools or an EHCP may be necessary to support pupils with PDA in achieving their potential. In the UK, organisations like the National Autistic Society and the Elizabeth Newson Centre acknowledge PDA as a profile within the autism spectrum. The term pathological demand avoidance was coined in the 1980s by British psychologist Elizabeth Newson. However, in the US and across Europe, PDA is much less recognised, largely due to differences in diagnostic training and criteria. It's important to mention that PDA is not officially recognised in all diagnostic manuals, such as the DSM-5 or the ICD-11, for several key reasons. Firstly, there is an ongoing debate about its classification. There's a need for more robust, large-scale research, geographical differences in awareness and training, and the slow and cautious nature of updating diagnostic frameworks. My Progression is brought to you by Teacher Active, one of the UK's biggest education recruitment agencies. As you may know, My Progression allows you to gain free certificates to help you evidence your CPD. Getting these just got even easier with the new Teacher Active app. As well as managing your CPD, if you're registered with Teacher Active, you can update your availability for supply in an instant. Download the Teacher Active app today from the link in the description. So, how does PDA present in the classroom? Well, pupils with PDA may not display common traits of autism, such as social communication differences, repetitive behaviours, or intense interests. That being said, it's important to remember that autism is a spectrum and people's traits show up in different ways. For more information on autism, check out our My Progression video on ASD linked in the description below. And whilst you're here, don't forget to like our videos, subscribe and click on the bell so you never miss an update from My Progression. So, what traits may pupils with PDA have? Well, some common signs include avoiding work tasks by negotiating, distracting or saying I can't, sudden mood changes or big emotional reactions when under pressure, difficulty with routine or transitions, even small ones, appearing controlling, this is often anxiety-driven, not defiance, and struggling with praise or expectations, even if they enjoy the task. It's easy to mistake these behaviours for being difficult or rude, but they are anxiety responses, and recognising that is key and essential to understanding PDA. So what can you do as a teacher or TA to support pupils with PDA? Well, I'm going to share some practical classroom strategies with you that can really help. Firstly, reduce direct demands. Instead of saying, do this now, try phrasing it as a choice or invitation, such as, when you're ready, can you start with this one? Or, let's see how much we can do together. Small changes in language can lower anxiety and increase cooperation. Giving a pupil with additional needs choices is always beneficial to support them in making decisions by taking away the cognitive load. The element of choice helps pupils feel more in control, which in turn helps build a more inclusive learning environment for all. Next, offer control where it's possible and appropriate. Pupils with PDA feel safest when they have some control. Let them make their own choices when you can. For example, they could choose where to sit, whether it's working independently, next to a peer, or working in a specific group for a task. They could also decide the order of their tasks. Now, this isn't saying let them pick the lessons they want or what work they'll do, but it could be as simple as choosing when their learning break is within the lesson or picking the order they complete the questions in. This doesn't mean you're giving in, it means you're creating an environment when they feel secure enough to engage. Next, direct praise can make some pupils with PDA feel uncomfortable because it makes them feel like they're being evaluated. Instead, use appreciation or admire them, which feels non-intrusive and can strengthen their sense of self. Instead of saying, great job finishing your homework, say, I appreciate the thought that you put into your homework. And rather than saying, that was a smart answer, say, I love hearing your thoughts on things. It helps me to think differently about things too. This is all about knowing your pupils. Every child needs to be praised to recognise hard work. However, this should always be a positive experience and delivered in the correct way for each individual. As well as this, it's important to remember that change can be difficult to manage for all pupils, especially a child with PDA. Therefore, it's essential that you plan for transitions. As an educator, you're responsible to ensure all pupils feel safe and comfortable within your setting or classroom. You should always have the children you teach in the forefront of your mind when making changes. However, we all know that change in education settings is inevitable. So, before a change, you must give lots of warning and do your best to avoid sudden shifts. A good way to support a pupil with SEND or ALN with change is to use visual timetables, timers or countdowns to help them prepare. As well as this, something essential that you must do from day one of working with a child with PDA is building trusting relationships. This is absolutely huge, and putting the time in from day one could be the difference between a very positive academic year or a difficult one. Pupils with PDA often thrive when they feel emotionally safe with you. Be calm, consistent and non-judgmental, even if they do refuse tasks. My advice would be to always offer choices and ensure you're consistent day to day, so the child always knows what to expect from you. If you're on supply, it can be difficult to build relationships when in day-to-day placements, so it's important to ask staff who know the child with PDA what the teacher normally does and try and keep with that consistency. And last but definitely not least, avoid power struggles. If your pupil is refusing a task, try to de-escalate rather than insisting. Offer an alternative or take a step back. For example, it looks like this is a bit tricky for you right now. Should we come back to it later and try this instead? Now, this isn't failing or letting the pupil get away with it. This is protecting your relationship with the child and giving them the option to have a break from a task that's causing them anxiety by giving them a safer option, but also showing them that they can revisit the original task later. So, we've spoken a lot about our pupils, but what about adulthood? Well, PDA is seen in adults as well as children because it is a lifelong neurodevelopmental profile, not just something a person grows out of. Whilst the traits of pathological demand avoidance often become noticeable in childhood, these traits continue into adulthood, though they may change in how they appear. Adults with PDA may have learned to mask their difficulties or develop coping strategies. However, their need to avoid demands driven by anxiety still remains. Many adults were undiagnosed as children, particularly if awareness of PDA was limited at the time, so their challenges may only be recognised later in life when they face increased responsibilities, stress or burnout. PDA exists across the lifespan. It doesn't disappear with age, even if it looks different in adults. For more information on PDA, I would really recommend checking out the PDA Society website. The link is in the description of this video. Pathological demand avoidance is complex and it can be challenging to understand and manage at first. But with empathy and flexibility, pupils with PDA can absolutely thrive in school. The key is to see the anxiety behind the behaviour and respond with calm, creative strategies. Inclusion should be in the heart of everything you do, regardless of your role in a school. Small changes, such as choice of language and the use of tone, should be consistent between all school staff, so every child feels safe and heard. We absolutely love to hear your thoughts. Please let me know in the comments box if you've got any top tips for teaching pupils with PDA, or comment more if you'd like more videos on neurodiversity in the classroom from My Progression. I've been Zoe from My Progression. Let's keep your career in motion.